Hi, I'm Rachel Edidin, and along with Miles Stokes, I host Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men, a weekly podcast all about the ins, outs, and retcons of our favorite superhero soap opera. Also, Rachel and Miles Review the X-Men, that's what you're watching right now, where we walk you through the X-books that come out in any given week. Now, as you can no doubt see, I am down to Miles this week. He is up at PAX working. If you were there, go say hi to him at the Dark Horse booth. But I have a solution. I have found a stand-in who has differently but equally fancy hair, who is going to read the notes that Miles texted me. So if you will welcome our emergency stand-in, Miles, Katie Moody. Hi, Katie.
Hi, everybody.
You ready to do this?
I guess.
All right, we're going to be looking at the X-books from August 26th, 2015. Let's go. First up is the final issue of Last Days of Magneto, number 21. This is written by Cullen Bunn and drawn by the original art team of Gabriel Hernandez Walta and Jordi Belair on colors. And man, I am so glad that Walta and Belair got to come back for this last issue to wrap it up. The previous art team who's been doing the Last Days story has not been one that grabbed me, and Walta and Belair were just so definitive on the rest of the title that, you know, it really feels right that they got to be the ones to finish it. This last issue, too, is, I think, a really strong ending to a really strong book that's been plagued by a weak last chapter. It's a great wrap-up to everything that Bunn and also Walta and Belair have been building over the course of the entire series, all the stuff that really made it great and made it stand out to us. And a great look back at what makes Magneto such a resonant and interesting character. Katie, what you got?
Right, from Miles. Magneto, a strong finish, way better than the preceding Last Days chapters, largely because it got in Magneto's head more and focused on action less. The whole "why won't they believe I'm not a villain" thing would have benefited from mentioning his time as headmaster of Xavier's and joining the Lord's Cardinal, though.
I am going to bet that that is on Miles' mind largely because that's about where we are in the podcast, which you should totally listen to, by the way. Next up, we're back off to Battleworld with E is for Extinction number 3, written by Chris Burnham, drawn by Ramon Villalobos, and colored by Ian Herring. As you may recall, this was a book that I wasn't sure about with the first issue and really liked come the second. This third issue is confirming my read of it. You should be reading this. It's fantastic. It's a really interesting twist and a really interesting extension of some of the weirder concepts from Grant Morrison's seminal early aughts run on the book. And Burnham, Villalobos, and Herring are going in some fascinating directions. I was a little frustrated. There was a twist here that I thought was going to go one way that went another, which I guess is kind of the nature of a twist, but I still wish it had gone the first way. In general, it's a fascinating book, and it's it speaks to a lot of the strengths of Secret Wars as an event and to Battleworld, in that it's a chance to see some really intriguing premises that never got fully played out in continuity, really explored in much, much, much more depth with some really interesting twists and tonal shifts. Villalobos continues to be a great callback to Frank Quitely, very much doing his own thing, but again, very, very evocative of the original. And yeah, if you liked the Morrison Quitely run, this is a book you should be reading because it is a great extension of an homage to it. Katie, what have we got from Miles?
Right. E is for Extinction. This comic remains insane. It's committed to its particular direction of madness, though. The whole Xavier is Quentin and Nova is Jean thing feels right for the parts of Morrison's feel it's been aping.
Next up in Battleworld, we have Old Man Logan number 4. This is written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Andrea Sorrentino, and it remains a strong issue of what's so far been a very, very strong run. Bendis and Sorrentino were a very stylish, stylized team, and their approach to this book has likewise been. If you're familiar with their work in collaboration from, for example, Uncanny X-Men, this is pretty different, but it brings a similar sensibility to and awareness of page layout, and especially to color palette in relation to that. They're a good team. I would say, honestly, if you're not following this already, it's a fine book to wait for the trade on, but it's worth taking a look, especially if you're into the more designy elements of comics. Katie, what does Miles have to say about it?
Old Man Logan. No strong feelings. Good action, but less exciting than preceding issues.
There you go. So that covers this week's X-Books. I do want to take a moment to draw attention to one more title, and that is the amazing Hank Johnson, Agent of Hydra. If you've been following the podcast, you know that weird minor characters, and especially minor thugs, have a special place in Miles and my heart, no less so since we joined their ranks in X-Men 92. This is an amazing, amazing book. It's written by David Mandel with art by Michael Walsh and colors by Matt Wilson, and it's delightful. I mean, the easiest summation I can think of is if Hawkeye were a minor thug. It's got a very similar tone to early Matt Fraction Hawkeye, and if you like that, you'll probably like this. That said, our pick of this week is not a comic book at all because I'm soloing. I totally get to pick, which means I can exert my terrible will and say that my pick of the week is the Protomen. were my favorite band ever, and I got to see them play live last night, which is why my voice is all gravelly, because there was yelling. If you're going to be in PAX, they're playing Sunday night at the official concerts. If you were in Seattle and not at PAX or at PAX, they will be playing Monday night at El Corazon, and you should go because it's the end of the tour, and they are, in fact, the best band of all time. I'm not joking. You should look them up. I will link in the as mentioned or somewhere in the text. But yeah, they're amazing. Pick of the week. As for the panel of the week, I am going to go with this one. This is from Magneto number 21. And, you know, this is something that's been done before, and it's a scene that's been done a lot of times. But I love it. It's an iconic take on an iconic moment, and a beautiful summation of the strengths of an art team that I think has defined this book in really positive ways. I'm sad to see it end, but really glad that it got to go out on this note. And this panel, in a lot of ways for me, kind of encapsulates the combination of nostalgia, regret, and affection with which Spun, Belair, and Walta have looked back over Magneto's lifetime as a character. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and Katie, thank you so much for being my emergency backup, Miles. You are amazing.
I don't have a beard.
Well, you know, I still love you. If you like what you've seen here, you should check out our podcast, Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men. New episodes go up every Sunday at rachelandmiles.com, also on iTunes and Stitcher. This week we're going to be looking at Uncanny X-Men as the new and slightly different X-Men fight the Juggernaut in Scotland, and the worst hat, at least on the virtuous side of the Marvel Universe, returns as Havoc once again joins the team. That podcast, these video reviews, and everything on rachelandmiles.com, essays, fan art, and the newly restarted X-Men Evolution recaps are brought to you by our rad Patreon subscribers. We are an entirely listener-supported and ad-free project, and if you want to join the fine folks who make that possible, you can do it at the link either above or below this video, depending on where you're watching. Otherwise, we will see you around, and I will be back next week with Miles and a whole new different head of amazing hair. So the hair is really, really fantastic. Like, it's super cool. But, like, seriously though, have you ever actually considered growing like a big bushy beard?
I've considered it.
I feel like you could rock that pretty hard.
I concur.